Shabbat Shalom. Thank you for joining us tonight. We begin our service, of course, with the lighting of the Shabbat candles, the blessings for which can be found on page 120 of Mishkan Tefillah. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lahadlik ner shel Shabbat. Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, sovereign of the universe, who hallows us with mitzvot and commands us to kindle the light of Shabbat. We enter a virtual sanctuary to welcome Shabbat. Within these walls, we sit surrounded by numberless generations. Our ancestors built the synagogue as a visible sign of God's presence in their midst. Throughout our long history and our endless wanderings, it has endured, a beacon of truth, love, and justice for all. Its presence guided our ancestors to lives of righteousness, holding up to them a vision of their truest selves. Now we, in our turn, come into this digital sanctuary to affirm the sacredness of our lives. May we enter this space in peace. May holiness wrap around us as we tune in. Weariness, doubt, the flaws within our human hearts, the harshness of the weak, let these drop away. In the brightness of Shabbat, let peace settle upon us as we lift our hearts in prayer. And we welcome in the Sabbath Bride on pages 138 and 139 of Mishkan Tefillah. We sing verses 1, 2, 5, and 9, and when we reach verse 9, I invite you, if you're able, to rise and face the direction through which the Sabbath Bride enters into your space for you. So maybe that is your front door, as it would be at the synagogue. Maybe it's a window. For me, I don't have a front door, so it would be weirder, I think, for the Sabbath Bride to come in like from my hallway than the patio door, she can float. So that's or maybe through, maybe the Sabbath Bride comes in through your screen as you listen to the service, or maybe your own beloved reflects that the Sabbath Bride for you. So whichever direction that is for you, face that way and welcome in the Sabbath bride, the Sabbath queen, as we reach verse 9. Lecha dodi likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nekabela. 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 Shamor v'zachor v'dior echad, ki shmi'anu el hamiuchad. Adonai echad, Shemo echad, v'Shemo tiferet v'letila. Lecha dodi likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Likrat Shabbat lechuvanelcha, ki hi mekor habracha. Vehirosh mikethem nesucha, sov ma'aseh b'machshavah tefila. Lecha dodi likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Ki torari, ki ba'orech u'mi'ori, uri, shir daveri, kebod araya layich nigla. Lecha dodi likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Bohi v'shalom ateret bala, gam b'simcha u'b'tzola. Och emunei am segula, bo'i chala. Lecha dodi likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Now that we've welcomed in the Sabbath bride, let's also welcome in the Sabbath angels, minister angels that come and check in on us every Shabbat and whisper reports of our doings onto the prophet Elijah. Shalom Aleichem on page 142. Shalom Aleichem, Malachei HaSharet, Malachei Elyon. Melech Malachei Hamlachim HaKadosh Baruch Boachem leshalom And now that we have warmed up our hearts and souls with our opening nigun and our blessing, our kavanah for this Shabbat, and we've welcomed in the Sabbath bride, and we've said, "What's up?" to the Sabbath angels, the ministering angels. We are ready now to segue fully into our evening service. We are still a bit short of a minyan, so we will read the Kaddish in English as we segue fully into our evening service. On page 263. Exalted and hallowed be God's great name in the world which God created according to plan. May God's majesty be revealed in the days of our lifetime and in the life of all Israel, speedily, imminently, to which we say, Amen. Blessed be God's great name to all eternity. Blessed, praised, honored, exalted, extolled, glorified, adored, and lauded be the name of the Holy Blessed One. Beyond all earthly words and songs of blessing, praise, and comfort, to which we say, Amen. And now, I fully call you to worship. Page 265. Adonai, your majesty is proclaimed by the marvels of earth and sky. Sun, moon, and stars testify to your power and wisdom. But excuse me. Day follows day in endless succession, and the years vanish, but your sovereignty endures. Though all things pass, let not your glory depart from us. Help us to become co-workers with you and endow our fleeting days with abiding worth. Baruch atah Adonai hama'ariv aravim. In each age, we receive and transmit Torah. At each moment, we are addressed by the world. In each age, we are challenged by our ancient teaching, and at each moment we stand face to face with Torah. At each age we add our wisdom to that which has gone before, and at each moment the knowing heart is filled with wonder. At each age the children of Torah become its builders and seek to set the world firm on a foundation of truth. Baruch atah Adonai, Ohev Amo Yisrael. On pages 267 and 268 is the Shema, followed by the Ve'ahavta. I invite you to prepare yourself for these words of Torah. Shema Yisrael Adonai think of them when thou sittest in thy house, when thou walkest by the way, and when thou liest down, and when thou risest up, and when thou risest up, and you shall bind them for a sign upon thy hand, and they shall be for frontlets between thine eyes, and thou shalt write them on the doorposts of thy house, and upon thy gates, and upon thy gates, that ye may remember and do all of my commandments, and be holy unto your God, unto your God, unto your God. We worship the power of the universe, we worship the power that unites the universe, a promise for harmony for all. Yet that oneness eludes our grasp as imperfection and evil abound. Before our eyes there is a vision of perfection, order, and goodness. There is evil enough to break the heart, and there is good enough to exalt the soul. When will redemption come? When we grant for everyone what we claim for ourselves. Long ago, we escaped the tyranny of Egypt. Our people saw the power of the Most High. We learned God's presence redeems time and event, and so we celebrate that power that makes for freedom. מי כמוך בעלים אדוני, מי כמוך נדר בקודש, נורא תהילתו ספלת, נורא תהילתו ספלת. מלכותך ראו בניך בוקע לפני משה זאלי. Anu ve'yameru Adonai imloch le'olam ba'ed michamocha ma'alim Adonai mikamocha neder b'kodesh Norah tehiloto sefeleh Norah tehiloto sefeleh Baruch atah Adonai Ga'al Yisrael. Page 271. Give us a place to rest, O God. Shelter us in the long, soft evening shadows of your truth. You are true protection and safety, and in your presence we find love and acceptance. Watch over us as we go forth. Prepare for us as we return. Spread over us your shelter of peace, over all we love, over our Jerusalem and yours. Baruch atah Adonai, haporei sukkah shalom, alinu ve'al kol amo Yisrael, ve'al Yerushalayim. Page 272. Ve'shamru b'nei Yisrael et HaShabbat la'asot et HaShabbat le'dorotam berit olam. Ve'shamru b'nei Yisrael et HaShabbat la'asot et HaShabbat le'dorotam berit olam. Beni uvein, bnei Israel, oti leolam, Veshamru bnei Israel et HaShabbat, la'asot et HaShabbat le'dorotam berit olam. Then, well, we just did that verse. Ki sheshet yamim asa Adonai et hashamayim ve'et haaretz v'shamru b'nei Yisrael et hashabat la'asot et hashabat לדורותם בריתו לעולם. וביום השביעי שבת וינפש, שבת וינפש, שבת וינפש, ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם בריתו לעולם. We come now. Thank you for the woos. It's almost like you're here singing with me. We come now to the central portion of our evening prayer. The tefillah begins on page 273 and continues over the next few pages. I invite you to prepare yourself for this set of blessings. Adonai sefatai tiftachu fi tehillah. Eternal God, open up my lips, that my mouth may declare your glory. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu, Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah. El Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, V'konei Hakol, V'zocher Chasdei Avot v'Imahot, V'nei Gula Livnei V'neihem, L'ma'an Shemo v'Ahava, Melech Ozer Moshiach U'Magid. Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Abraham Ezrat Sarah. Atah gibor le'olam Adonai, Mechayeh hakol atah rab lehoshia, Morid hatal, Mechalkel chaim bechesed, Mechayeh hakol berachamim rabim, Somech noflim v'rofeh cholim, Umatir asurim, Umekayem emunato, Lishenei afar, Michamocha ba'al gevurot, Umidom melech, Melech menid umechayeh, Umatzmiach Yeshua, V'ne'eman atal hachayot hakol. Baruch atah Adonai, Mechayeh hakol. Atah kadosh v'shimcha kadosh, u'kadoshim b'chol yom yehalelucha selah. Baruch atah Adonai, ha'el hakadosh. You may be seated if you rose. We can continue on page 277. You've set aside the seventh day for your name, the pinnacle of creation, and you blessed it above all other days. More sacred than all festival times, so it is written in your Torah. The heaven and the earth were finished in all their array. On the seventh day, God had completed the work that had been done, ceasing then on the seventh day from all the work that God had done. Then God blessed the seventh day and made it holy, and ceased from all the creative work that God had chosen to do. Our God and God of our ancestors, be pleased with our rest. Sanctify us with your mitzvot, and grant us a share in your Torah. Satisfy us with your goodness, and gladden us with your salvation. Purify our hearts to serve you in truth. In your gracious love, Adonai, our God, grant as our heritage your holy Shabbat, that Israel, who sanctifies your name, may rest on it. Praise to you, Adonai, who sanctifies Shabbat. Baruch atah Adonai, Mekadesh HaShabbat. Be gracious, Adonai, our God, to your people Israel, and receive our prayers in love. Oh, may our worship always be acceptable to you. Fill us with the knowledge that you are near to all who seek you in truth. Let our eyes behold your presence in the midst in our midst and in the midst of our people in Zion. Blessed is Adonai, whose presence renews Zion. Baruch atah Adonai, hamachazir shechinato letzion. Page 281. For the good in us which calls us to a better life we give thanks. For the strength to improve our world with our hearts and our hands we offer praise. For the desire in us which leads us to work for peace we are grateful. For life and nature, harmony and beauty. For hope of tomorrow. All praise to the source of being. For all these things, O Sovereign, let your name be forever praised and blessed. O God, our Redeemer and Helper, let all who live affirm you and praise your name in truth. Blessed are you, Adonai. Your name is goodness, and you are worthy of thanksgiving. Baruch atah Adonai, hatov shimcha ulecha na'el lehodot. Page 282. Shalom Ra, Yisrael Amcha, Tasi Leolam. Shalom Ra, Yisrael Amcha, Tasi Leolam. Ki atahu melech Adon, L'chol hashalom. V'tov beinecha levarech et amcha Yisrael, L'chol עת v'chol sha'a b'shlomecha. Shalom Yisrael Amcha, Tasim Leolam. Shalom Yisrael Amcha, Tasim Leolam. Tasim Leolam. Baruch atah Adonai hamevarech et amo Yisrael b'shalom. We take a moment now for silent prayer. You might use the words on pages 283 through 285 or the meditations of your own heart. Yehiyu leratzon im refi v'hegyon libi lefanecha. Adonai tzuri, Adonai tzuri, v'goali, v'goali. May the words of our mouths and the meditations of our hearts be acceptable to you, Adonai, our rock and redeemer. We turn our thoughts now to those who are ill and in need of healing. As I read the names on my list, please feel free to add the names in the chat of anyone else for whom you'd like to say a Mishaberach. Mary Kennedy, Rosalind Cantu, Mike Haug, Lori Perry, Nick Joliot, Ariel Batsluva, Rhoda Wessler, Marion Finkel, Skip, Kathy, and Jeffrey Brace, Rhonda Butler, Ricky Grant, Shoshana Bat Abraham, Minna Dornfeld, Juliette Origi, Leslie White, Ann Cohen, Charlotte Birch, Anita Ash, Joseph Matter, Daryl Swan, Steve McGrew, David Ray, David Harper, Doris Hudson Trujillo, Susan Smith, Mary Lou Manzelli, Gary Sullivan, and Kevin Kossoff. The Mishaberach is on page 371, and we hold in our hearts all those in need of healing of mind, body, and spirit, including all those injured last night at the Mount Meron Lag BaOmer stampede. All of our Jewish brothers and sisters in the Holy Land that were injured while trying to celebrate a blessed evening. Source of strength, who blessed the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen. At this time, we're going to count the Omer, which I believe the blessing for which is on 625. If you'd like to... Nope. That's too far. 570. The blessing is on page 570 if you'd like to follow along. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu al sfirat haomer. Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, sovereign of the universe, who hallows us with mitzvot and commands us to count the Omer. Hayom arba'a ushloshim yom shehem arba'a shavuot v'shisha yamim la Omer. Today is... I just blanked. Today is 34th. Yesterday was Lag BaOmer. That's what they were doing at Mount Meron. Today is the 34th day of the Omer. That is 4 weeks and 6 days of the Omer. So, Shabbat Shalom, everyone. As I just said, this is the 34th day of the Omer, and this day we honor a foundation of glory. The Kabbalistic realm for this day of the Omer is Yesod Shebehod. Rabbi Jill Hammer's Omer Calendar of Biblical Women attributes this day and this point of the Kabbalistic spiral of these days to Abigail, one of David's wives. In the book of Samuel, David is on the run from King Saul and encounters some difficulties with a landowner on whose land he is sort of squatting. David's pretty in the wrong here, but he wants to kill the landowner. And the man's wise and beautiful wife comes out and entreats David not to shed this blood. She reveals herself to be something of a prophetess, foreseeing David's future kingdom, and warns him not to taint that reign with unnecessary killing now. The landowner dies anyway of sort of natural causes. David doesn't kill him. But David does marry this man's wise and beautiful wife, taking her with him as he continues on his conquest over the land and his plans to usurp Saul's throne. It is because of Abigail's wisdom and her willingness to move David's heart with her words alone, that we associate her with prophecy, connection, foundation, glory on this day of the Omer. We are most like Abigail, says Rabbi Hammer, when we use our gifts to connect deeply with one another. So recently I've been watching a show called The 100 on Netflix, courtesy of a confirmation student who got me hooked on it. A common theme throughout the show is the struggle in determining when violence is necessary or appropriate. There are issues of colonialism, war, self-defense, mistrust, and revenge that spur the moral struggles of the characters. Although it is a futuristic dystopian teen drama, a lot of these basic concepts are very real and issues that we too often prefer to view as clear-cut and out of our hands as civilians. Across the globe, humans today also engage in violent colonialism or imperialism, war. We often act in what we think is self-defense or justified revenge, but really just leads to more unnecessary bloodshed. A common refrain throughout the show is blood must have blood. It's announced as one culture kills in retaliation, understood as justice for a killing of one of their own. It is a radical statement when one of the leaders on the show arises and announces blood must not have blood and negotiates peace treaties and coalitions. While blood must have blood sounds awfully like some verses from this week's Torah portion, Parashat Emor. Leviticus 24 verses 17 through 20 reads, "If anyone kills a human being, he shall be put to death. One who kills a beast must make restitution for it, life for life. If anyone maims his fellow, as he has done, so shall it be done to him. Fracture for fracture, eye for eye, tooth for tooth. The injury he inflicted on another shall be inflicted on him." But just as blood must have blood leads to a cycle of endless war, an eye for an eye will cause the whole world to go blind. Thus, our rabbis explain that this verse of Torah does not actually mean we inflict the same wound upon a perpetrator, but rather that the perpetrator is liable to repair the damage done, namely through monetary means. That's usually what the rabbis are talking about. I think we can extrapolate further. There are other types of restitution, teshuvah, but the point stands, it's not literal. The Talmud also later records a conversation in which they discuss the layers of witnesses and judges necessary in order to convict a capital case. So determined are they to never put an innocent man to death or to shed unnecessary blood. The anonymous voice of the Mishnah posits, "A Sanhedrin that puts a man to death once in 7 years is called a murderous one." Rabbi Eliezer ben Azariah responds in the text, "Or even once in 70 years. And Rabbi Tarfon and Rabbi Akiva both add, "If we had been in the Sanhedrin, no death sentence would ever have been passed." Although the debate over death penalty in this country rises and falls every so often depending on the state, crime, the evidence, and so on, it seems that while the Peshat of our Torah might suggest being in favor of the death penalty, on the whole, Jewish tradition is to stand against it. In this country, we know that the justice system is not always just, and people have been exonerated after years on death row for crimes they didn't commit. We can only imagine how many innocents were also put to death. And even for those not so innocent, surely there must be a better way to handle bloodshed without causing more bloodshed. Blood must not have blood. An eye for an eye causes the whole world to go blind. Chazal never meant to teach us that a life for a life was literal as an act of justice, but that reparations must be done when someone is injured, killed, or incurs loss of property. On a much, much smaller scale. Ner Shalom has engaged with such a process just recently. Last summer, you may recall, we received a voicemail message full of anti-Semitic comments and a bomb threat, which was quickly ruled out as non-credible. Still, the call was a crime, and the police traced it and found the perpetrator. A minor with no previous criminal record and no indicators of similarly bigoted past behavior. Rather than press charges and inflict upon this misguided child a harm that may feel relative to the fear and trauma we experienced by his call, we instead participated in a restorative justice program with the county. We sat with the boy and his mom, learned what motivated him to make the call, explained to him the harm he caused, and arranged some follow-up steps for him to make restitution through community service actions. Again, this obviously does not compare to the stakes involved in a life-for-life type case, but I believe it sets a good model for how Jews engage with justice versus revenge, and I'm proud of our progress with this case. And I want to give a shout out to Jillian Perry for her immense help with handling the whole thing from the beginning last summer through this whole process this year. Now, probably none of us had plans to shed unnecessary blood this weekend, or will find ourselves in a position to talk someone else out of such a thing in the near future. But I hope that if the occasion should ever arise, we hold in our mind the lessons gleaned from the values of the Yesod, Shebehod, and the rabbinic teachings of this parsha. Let us connect with one another person to person, even when it is difficult. Let us avoid all unnecessary bloodshed. And may we create a lasting and just peace among us. Amen and Shabbat Shalom. We turn now toward our concluding prayers. The Alinu is on page 586, and I invite you to prepare yourself for this prayer. Alinu l'shabeach l'adon hakol, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגור עלינו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים, לפני מלך מלכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא. ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד. And now we turn our thoughts to those who are no longer with us in body, but remain with us in spirit. As I read the names on my list, please feel free to add any names in the chat for whom you'd like to say a Kaddish. This week marks a yahrzeit for Richard Walsh, Benjamin Blair, Pamela Hart, and Cecilia Lenegra, and it is the first yahrzeit for Louis Petrozello. We are still within the year of mourning for Gary Lyons, John DiNicola, Arizona Breeding, Fran Warona, Rick Grossman, Aura Alva Leon, Sharon Buell, Mona Mandel, Ruth Bader Ginsburg, Patricia Michaels, Joe Davis, Kathleen Schindler, Jamie Bellitz, Neil Savage, Ann O'Neill, Bruce Schechter, Bernard Strassner, Ruth Sherman, Louis Aaron Honig, Jean Sullivan, Carolyn Rubel Magrum, and David Nemero. And again, the people who died in the stampede at Mount Meron last night as well. The Mourner's Kaddish is on page 598. We hold in our thoughts all those who have died with no one to say Kaddish for them as well. Mourners and those who wish to join them may rise. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, ve'alma divrach yiruteh v'yamlich malchuteh, v'chayechon u'v'yomechon u'v'chaye d'chol beit Yisrael, ba'agala u'v'zman kari v'imru amen. Yehei shemei Rabbah mevarach le'olam u'lalmei amaya, yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yithadar v'yitaleh v'yithalal shemei d'kudashah b'richu, le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, da'amiran be'alma v'imru amen. Yehei shalom rabba min shemaya, v'chaim alinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom ben romav, hu ya'aseh shalom alenu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'al kol yoshvei tevel v'imru amen. Oseh shalom ben romav, hu ya'aseh shalom alenu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imru amen. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. V'imru amen. So now is a good time to go grab your wine or juice, your challah, your cookies, whatever you're making motzi and kiddush over this evening while I give you some announcements. So tomorrow there actually won't be Havdalah as initially stated. Rabbi is indisposed tomorrow evening. Sunday, 9:30 a.m. at the synagogue is our final regular class day for religious school, but it's not over yet. May 16th, we will have our last end of year barbecue awards and so on and so forth. So Sunday morning, 9:30, our last morning full class day, May 16th, 11:30, awards, tefillah, yoga, and lunch. Sunday at 1 on Zoom, Adult Ed continues. We will be looking at some midrashim that share a common theme of biblical characters who tradition says didn't die, but were taken directly by God. Sunday at 4:30, we will be honoring the life of David Nemero, one of the sons of one of our founding matriarchs of Ner Shalom. As I said in my email earlier today, we are asking that unless you received an invitation from the family, not to come to the synagogue because we want to keep the numbers low, and the Nemeros have a big family. But there is a Zoom link available for people to join virtually and to sign a virtual guest book and pass on their respects to the family that way. Next week, Torah study, Thursday at 1 p.m. Time change, just again for next Thursday, 1 p.m. And next Friday, in theory, is Sisterhood Shabbat. So stay tuned for how we will be bringing you Shabbat that night. And Saturday morning next week, we will have a Shabbat morning service at the synagogue outdoors. Next Sunday, there's nothing because it's Mother's Day. Enjoy yourselves. But again, then the weekend of the 14th through the 16th, there's various happenings for Shavuot, for the end of the school year, to beautify our temple. So keep an eye out for more details. That's only 2 weeks away. So I don't normally give all of the announcements that far ahead, but there's going to be a lot going on that weekend that's going to be exciting and fun. So stay tuned and join us for holidays and things like that. Okay, that's all I got for now. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagaten. Amen. L'chaim. I opened this bottle today and then I realized it's Stephen Miller wine, and I was like, hope it doesn't taste like Nazi. We give thanks to God for bread. Our voices rise in song together as our joyful prayer is said. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen. B'te'avon. This one's chocolate chip. Okay, let me get this out of the way so we can do our final song, Adon Olam, on page 265. Adon Olam asher malach b'terem kol yitzir nivra li'et nasa lechefetz hakol azay melech shemo nikra Adon Olam asher malach b'terem kol yitzir nivra achareha kichlot hakol levado yimloch nora vehu haya vehu hovel vehu yeh betifara Adon Olam asher malach b'terem kol yitzir nivra vehu echad ve'ein sheni v'hamshilo v'hachbira v'li reshit v'li tachlit v'lo ha'oz ve'ha'misra Adon Olam asher malach b'terem kol yitzir nivra vehu eli v'chai goli v'tzorcheb li b'eit tzara vehu nisi umanos li v'nakos li b'yom ekra Adon Olam asher malach b'terem kol yitzir nivra Be'ado afkid ruchi Be'et ishan Shabbat Shalom, everyone. I will see you next time.